What's up and what's happening, TPE family? We're back with another session of the TPE Book Club, where we are seeking to add value to other leaders' lives through the stories that other influencers, other authors, other leaders are writing. And today is no different. We're going to be continuing our conversation around Craig Groeschel's latest book, Think Ahead. If you guys know, you can get this copy of this book at Amazon, Target, Walmart. Anywhere books are sold, pretty much you can get this. Also, as Javonna has been telling us, there is a supplement to that, and I've got that in hand today. There's a workbook that you can get that will help definitely advance the conversation and advance, I guess, just what you're gaining from reading the book. And we're going into the third of the 7 pre-decisions that we've been talking about. I'm going to run through those 7 really quickly. We've already talked about I will be ready. We already talked about I will be devoted. Today, we're going to be talking about I will be faithful. And the next 4 are I will be an influencer, I will be generous, I will be consistent, and I will be a finisher. And before I pass it to Javonna, because you guys know Javonna kind of opens us up here, I just want to say I really love this this lesson today, lesson 5, and I really enjoyed the context of the conversation. There's some things that definitely resonated with me in my walk as a leader, and so I hope you guys can gain something from this. If you will, do me a favor, get your note-taking method out, whether that's digital, whether that's paper, whatever you do to take notes, because we don't want you just to listen to this content and just to feel good about it. We want you to walk away from this with something that's tangible, something that is going to be that's going to change the way you think about leadership and how you treat other people. So, Javonna, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Alex, and I'm excited to talk about I will be faithful. I think there's some really good key things, and I think even thinking about, I will be devoted, I will be faithful kind of sounds pretty similar. But there are some key differences between being devoted and being faithful. So I'm going to kind of take us back to the last lesson on being devoted. The last thing I asked you to do, there was an exercise. In that exercise, I asked you to look at your time journal that you created from the week before and what shows up. That's most likely what you're devoted to and what you value most. And is this what you want to be devoted to? I think that was the question that I asked you at the end, was to really look through and see like what I wrote down over and over and over again each day. I'm devoted to that, whether I want to be or not. And is that what I truly want to be devoted to? I think that kind of takes us into I will be faithful. So there's a little intro he does in the book, and I actually just listened to this today. So just to recap my mind on what I will be faithful is. The first question he asks in this chapter is, choose a word goal for your life. So if you had to choose one word that would be the goal for your entire life, what would that word be? I'm going to give you like a 10-second pause, actually, because I want you to think about it. What would the one word be if you had to choose a goal for your life? So he did a poll on this, and the top 3 words that kept reappearing were successful, influential, and happy, which are all very good words. I would actually say that the second one, influential, that's actually my mission statement. And so I think when I think about, I want to end up making an influence or making an impact on the world, I would say that probably would be the one word I would have chosen, was influence, before I listened to this book. And he basically says your one word should be faithful, which I was like, okay, I get it. But why faithful? And I think he alludes to it in the book. He doesn't like go right out and say like, hey, this is why I'm saying faithful. But all those other things require being faithful to others and to being good stewards of what we've been given. So if you're faithful, if your one life goal is to be faithful, there's 3 things that we're going to do if we're faithful. 1 is treat people well. 2 is steward our resources well. And the 3rd is respond to God. And we're going to focus today on just the treat people well. And I think this is I think Alex really loves this, which I'll let you take over, Alex, here in a second. But I think you really love this because that's what we do every single day. That's kind of what I was telling, I was at an event today for a student who's in Leader Academy, which is one of our programs at Chick-fil-A. But I was at a program and I was talking to another lady who runs another business. And I told her, I said, if I had to just describe to you what I do every day, it's lead people. Like, whatever that accountability, give them ownership, speak to them about what their responsibilities are. And so I think that word faithful, and the first thing he says with that is treat people well. And he kind of even goes deeper than that in lesson 5 in the book, and also on his inside his book that he wrote, is he said every interaction is an opportunity to add value. And so I think the reason we like that so much, I think the reason Alex liked this chapter so much is, in order to steward other people well and find every interaction as an opportunity to add value, you really have to be faithful to that mission, because there's going to be distractions. There's going to be things about people that you come in contact with that you don't like. Probably actually everyone. There is 1 to 2 things that drive you nuts about everyone. I mean, I'm married, I have 2 kids, and I love my kids to death, but they drive me crazy sometimes. And so does my spouse. They're different quirks, they're different habits. But my job as a good wife, as a good mother, and I would say even as a businesswoman, is to really steward those interactions that I have with my team and my family, and think of them as an opportunity to add value. Is that why you like it, Alex? Is that what stood out to you with that?
Yeah, definitely. I guess just to add to that, and I've got this in my notes a little bit further along in the conversation, but I'll just say it now. Like, I remember one time I was watching a piece of content. This is several years ago, and there's a Duke has a famous head coach, Coach K. Everybody knows who Coach K. If you know about basketball in any capacity, you've probably heard of Coach K. And he's one of the most winningest coaches in college basketball. Has been a head coach for the Olympic team, the U.S. Olympic team, and they was interviewing him, and he's this, and I still talk about this to this day. He said that every person in this organization has value. The ball boy, the water boy, the people who you don't see that's in the back office, like every person here has value, and it's my job as the coach to treat them as such and make them feel that way. And so when as I was reading this lesson, that kept popping out to me in terms of like, all right, my job as the leader is to make people understand that they are valuable, number one. And so it kind of refreshed this thought of, hey, making sure people know that they're valuable, and then 2, taking my leadership capacity and making them more valuable. So that's why I love that this lesson. One of the reasons why I love this lesson, because it brings me back to that moment where I was exposed to that content, and it really said, hey, it doesn't matter if you're the 15-year-old taking out trash on Saturdays, or you're the director who has 5 years worth of experience. Your level of value may be different, but you still provide value nonetheless. And then that in itself should demand me to want to give you value. You know what I mean?
So there's and I'm gonna read this straight off my notes, but this was like one of the things in the workbook that I guess really stood out to me, like the sentence he wrote. He said, choosing to be faithful by adding value to others means deciding to put them before yourself, viewing every interaction you have with difficult family members, inconsiderate neighbors, competitive coworkers, comparative friends, overwhelmed wait staff, slow cashiers, everyone as an opportunity to add value to their lives requires being intentional. And I was like, that was in my mind, because I don't think that I faithfully steward every single interaction. And there's a lot of reasons why. Like, you could sit here and I wrote down a list. I was like, oftentimes for me, I think the reason I don't am not faithful to treat every interaction as an opportunity to add value is because I'm too busy. I can't stop long enough to really make people feel valuable. And it's almost, I mean, I've been told this by some of the people I work with. They're like, we don't feel valuable because when we're having a conversation, you pick up your phone and you're responding to emails or text messages. And so that is one area I really struggle, because if you were to ask them, they'd be like, oh my gosh, she cares about us so much. Like, she really does, value us. But the moments, the day-to-day moments, I don't show that because I'm so busy going from thing to thing to thing. I have something at 11 o'clock, and then I've got something at 12 o'clock, and then I've got something at 1 o'clock, and then, somebody needs me at 2 o'clock, and I got to pick up the kids at 3 o'clock. And it's just going from thing to thing to thing. And therefore I just don't even stop to notice that I'm not taking those moments to tell them, hey, you add value. And I think for me, it's not even that. I've realized I just need to stop for 2 minutes. I need to stop for 2 minutes, and I need to give them my full attention. And I need to tell them, hey, I just want you to know what you do adds value to who we are as a business. What you do adds value to who we are as a family. What you do, and I don't do that well. And so I've been trying to be more intentional. That's what he said. He's like, an opportunity to add value to others, to their lives, requires being intentional. And I think it's intentional moments consistently.
And, just to add to that, and you picked off the first thing on that list of things that the workbook kind of says that, hey, what's stopping you from being that person that seeks to add value all the time? Like my pastor, and this is one of the things that really stuck out to me when I first me and my wife started going to the church that we go to currently. Like at the peak, our church roll was about 10,000 people, right? One pastor, 10,000 people. I can only imagine the amount of like touch time, face time that he gets with each individual person. And we do these things every now and then where we bring in other churches from other areas. And then the pastor, like it's like a pastor swap. They'll preach at our church and then our pastor will preach at their church. And this particular pastor comes to Chick-fil-A all the time. And I said, I remember seeing him. I said, hey, man, I remember seeing you at my church. He said, what church you go to? And I was like, I go to Antioch. And he was like, man, your pastor sure does know how to make 20 minutes feel like an hour. And when he said that, it just, the light bulb came on, because like I said, that's exactly what he does. And there's some things that I've noticed from him, and I know this is not necessarily a part of the study per se, but there's some things that I know that he does very intentionally, because he knows his time is very limited. So there's some, like I started to pick up on, like he'll give you his full attention. He knows he only has like 2 or 3 minutes with you, but he'll stop doing everything he's doing to look you in your eyes, speak very directly to you. And I started doing that for me because to your same point, I know I was rushing in every interaction. I had a guy tell me one time, he was like, hey, just set a timer on your watch for the amount of time that you have, so you don't have to keep looking at the watch every 30 seconds to check the time. He said it really comes across disconnected when you're doing that. And that was a gut punch for me. And so I had to start kind of bookmarking certain things in my mind to try to say, okay, how do I limit the distractions, my phone, my computer, my iPad, my smartwatch, to be able to devote that time? Because it does get difficult because we hold the same position in our 9-to-5 lives, right? And so that demands a lot of attention, especially when you go multi. I put that in my notes. And for those of you who are watching out there, when I say multi, Javonna and I run 2 restaurants, right? She runs her 2, I run my 2. And you can attest to this. Back when it was one restaurant, it was one big happy family. Everybody was in one house. You saw the same people every single day. But now that we've taken on, and I've gotten better at this as I've gone along, but it was a struggle in the beginning, trying to make sure that you devote time to people in the back of the house, devote time to people, and you can feel spread so thin, because even though great opportunity to have a second restaurant, great opportunity to be able to do these things, not complaining, but it comes with a set of challenges that can definitely distract you. So I would definitely agree with everything that you're saying.
Well, and I think so we can kind of take this back to the last exercise you did, and I'll give you a new exercise here in just a second, a new challenge. But you've got to analyze what you want to be faithful to. And one thing currently literally this is in the last 2 weeks I've been working through is how can I be focused when I need to be focused to get things done so that I can show up better when I'm with people. My husband laughs at me. He asked me if I have like the fountain of youth because I get up really early and I do a lot of work in the mornings. And the reality behind that is, and this is, I've been really doing this for actually since we kind of started the book, because I was like, I need to get up earlier. And so, I get up earlier and I do some work in the mornings, but that's helped me to be able to show up in the restaurants better because I don't have these distractions of deadlines of things that need to get emails that need to get sent out, scorecards that need to get checked, documents that need to get made, stuff I need to send out. Like there's all these extra task things that I'm always trying to just squeeze into little areas where if I could spend a real good hour and a half in the morning, like really working on that checklist, that when I show up in the restaurant, I can be more like that stuff's not clouding my brain anymore.
You're available.
Yes, I'm more available.
Yeah.
And so when I think about being faithful, I've even had to learn to be faithful to my time frames and things that I need to get done and when I'm going to do those so that I can be faithful when I show up face to face with people. And my team, they laugh. They're like, you send us something at 5:30 in the morning or, put your notifications on silent because I might be sending out a message at 5:30 in the morning. But, and I don't text message them. That's not a text message. That's like through our Slack channel or an email. But, that's when I can get stuff done. And that's when I'm like, hey, I do that so I can show up for you in the restaurant or show up and sit next to you for an hour and not feel the weight of all of those things. And I think that's really been helpful.
Yeah, that's been a cheat code for me for a while. When we first started interacting in this capacity, the TPE capacity, y'all asked me, what time you wake up in the morning? I say around 4:35. And it was like, okay, all right, cool. Good for you. But I'm like, for me, I said, but for me, getting up in the morning and getting my day started, like you said, like the people used to think I'm a madman. I'm sending out messages at 4:00 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning. And again, not in text, but in the proper channels. But it was one of those things where there's so many ancillary things that we are responsible for, these little auxiliary tasks that really just kind of puts us at a disadvantage when there's real things happening with real people that really requires us to be present. But I can't be present because I need to go to the back and get on the computer and do something, or I need to go sit in the dining room away from the action. So no, getting up in the morning, and even if you don't, and I'll just say this, for those of you who don't maybe not have this massive checklist that you need to work on, waking up in the morning to gather your thoughts and to reflect on the day before and to reflect on what you need to do. If I don't get up in the morning, but just to check my calendar for the next couple of days and get acquainted with what I got coming up and making sure that I touch up on information for a meeting or I revisit an agenda or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be fine-tune or structure. Now, ideally, you want to work towards that, but just start with something. So even if you struggle, with working out, using that time in the morning to get on the bike or do whatever it is that you are devoted to, and then the rest of the day is kind of could be for other people. For me, my house is quiet at 4:00 in the morning. Everybody's asleep. There's I have young children. So, and Javonna is a witness to this. Every time they're home and we're in the meeting or they're upstairs, they come up here into the office. They're and it's cute. They're in the camera and everything. But for some functions, it doesn't work. For some instances, no matter how cute they are, it doesn't work. So it's just a matter of what does that look like for you? 4 o'clock in the morning works for me. It might be 9 p.m. for you. It might be a different part of the day for you. So you have to look at, again, I think analyze your time. You know, if you did the time journal exercise from one of the earlier episodes, what are you doing when you look at that time journal? Is there times in the day that, or there's moments in the week that are reoccurring that can be reconfigured for something else? And I think we spoke on that, but just wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah. So to close this out, Alex, our exercise. Okay. So I was thinking about this, and I didn't even type this in the journal because I think we kind of went a different way, which I think is awesome because that's what our conversations do. Which, by the way, just so all you know, we love doing this. This is fun for us. But I think my challenge for you is find that time during the day. That's your hour. I'm just saying an hour. Find an hour in the day, whether it's early in the morning, late at night. I know there's night owls out there. There's early birds. I'm an early bird. Alex is an early bird. But find that 1 hour to clear your mind, set your schedule, look for the next day every morning. And I mean, I'm sure Alex does the same thing, but every morning I get up, I have the same routine. I go let my dog out, I feed her, I go make my coffee, and then I come in here, and the first thing that I do is I look at my schedule for the day. And I kind of run through in my mind what I'm going to be faced with that day. And then there's some other things I do. I have a read a devotional and those ancillary tasks I was talking about. But I want you to find your 1 hour a day where you can really look at your day and say, okay, I want to help make my day successful. And I would suggest doing it either early morning or late at night. But I think that will really help you be more faithful to the people in your life if you can really focus on, what your day-to-day looks like and where can you carve out more time for individuals. My son, this is an example. He wanted to watch a movie last night, and I was like, not sure how I'm gonna fit that into today, but we didn't get to watch the whole thing. We watched an hour of it last night, but that's important. That's important time that I get to spend with my kids. And so, today he said, hey, can we finish the movie? And that showed him that I value him over work. And Alex knows this. I know this. The same thing he was talking about his girls coming up into his workspace. But sometimes we don't put work down enough to tell our kids that they're valuable, to tell our spouses that they're valuable because of the work that we do. But I think that 1 hour, at least 1 hour a day, you find that time to set up your day well, will really help you be more faithful in interactions and finding areas to add value to others.
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you so much for closing us out. Okay, TPE family, I need a huge favor. I need you to go over to www.tpenow.com and join Leaders Square. Leaders Square is our leadership community where we are, myself and the other coaches here at TPE, we are giving insights on leadership and different tips and tools. This week ought to be an exciting week. I think we got some cool things coming down the pipeline this week. That was from our previous Lead Better. And if you don't know what Lead Better is, you can go on tpenow.com and you can see some of the previous Lead Betters to get an idea of what that is and what we offer on that platform. Thank you so much, Javonna. As always, I enjoy our conversation. I enjoy the study here. And until next time, TPE family, peace.